to be clear because we are opening the Spearco bar. And yes, that will include my coffee. I will be moving my coffee into my car to be ready to go home. But I just wanted to say that because it's been getting really jammed up back there, and this is supposed to be space for class. So I wanted to get it out, have plenty of space for dinner because it'll be a fun night tonight. No, outside. Outside. You can be outside with your table. Outside, that's fine.
Got a 6-foot range.
But not the eating table. No. Thanks. Yeah. Hopefully you've done well with sales. We just want to clean this up and have plenty of room for space. Okay. So this next speaker is going to talk to us about homestead-based business, and we want to give him the best TSP welcome we have. So I want you to just work with me on this. Let's go, Brandon. 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 Let's go, Brandon.
Thank you.
Woo!
I was going to ask for that anyway. And so this presentation starts with a hype video because this is a visual experience. I want everyone to like get the creative juices flowing in their head. So we're going to have there's 4 short videos, they're 2 minutes long. So work with me just a little bit as I get them up, but they're there because all of the pictures, all of the work we've done in the last several years showing these business models, you probably haven't seen stuff like this. And that's why I want to expose you to. So we start with the hype video.
Feeling y'all. G, feeling G, G, feeling G. You can feel it cause this is G time. G, 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 G. I've been thinking about a whole lot. My past life, last night, and my old block. It's still there, I'm still here, but who's there? Who's where? I don't know, but I hope they're good. All I know is all we got is hope, and that's good. All we ever wanted was a chance to do good. Some didn't, but it's never too late. I bet you're good, but together we're great. So don't leave them when you see them alone in the cold. You don't need the reason to warm the soul. You and I already know the lies that were sold, so don't believe what they type. I ride up and bold. Nah, they never take it. A life, this is dedicated to you and yours. And sick in the poor, and those who wanna see an end of the war. Nah, they never take it. A life, this is dedicated to you and yours. And sick in the poor, and those who wanna see an end of the war. Nah, they never take it. A life, this is dedicated.
Okay, so my name is Brandon Youst. Own 2 companies right now, one Bootstrapped Farmer, which I won't be talking much about. The other one that I have is Urban Farm Academy, and that's just me. And what I want to talk to you about most is like, why do we do any of this? Like, why are we here? We want freedom in so many regards. And to get ultimate freedom, maximum freedom, I don't really see any way around not having a business in order to do that, because if you're waking up to an alarm clock to go create someone else's dream, I mean, that's not my definition of freedom. So homesteading is a crucial part of that, to like be resilient. I call it the 5D human. That's a farmer combining community, health, entrepreneurship, and freedom. So if you combine these elements, you can have what you want. So 6 years ago, I was working for the evil empire named BlackRock. I'm really bad at math, and I was a financial analyst. So you can imagine the imposter syndrome that I had. I felt like I was the worst one in the office, like by far. And I was also talking shit on the Fed, like to all my coworkers. So I was kind of a black sheep. However, I got promoted pretty early on, and I didn't see any good reason for that. But like the more I thought about it, I was really good at throwing the company barbecue. And sometimes when you're at a company, like they need that glue guy too. And because my confidence was so low, because I was so bad at the numbers, and I'd have to ask my coworkers, like, like, what do I do here? The fact that I still got promoted told me, like, there's something in that, like, you got something there. So I hated working under fluorescent lights. And I said, I need to get out of here. Like, this is not what I want to do, because you go to college, you do the whole thing. You don't really know what you want out of your life. But once you start taking the red pill and you're working for the evil empire, like, nah, I can't do that. So the feeling grew worse and worse. And I'm going to show you the businesses I started. But first, why start any business? Like, what's your end goal? Like, what are you actually working towards? Because a lot of times people will start a business and what they're really doing is creating themselves a job that's really no different from the one that they had. Like, if you're still working to an alarm, you're still working all day, you're grinding yourself out. And there's a lot of business owners here that know, like, first couple of years are a grind. It's going to put stress on your family, your wife, and all of that. So if you're not super clear about where you're headed, all of the steps in between aren't as clear. But if you start out from the beginning and say, what am I working towards? Like, what is the life that I want to create? Like, what's my day-to-day look like? You can be way more intentional about the things you'll accept and the things that you won't accept. So I was smart, or I read enough books like Tim Ferriss, 4 Hour Work Week. I listened to Joe Rogan. He gave me advice that I love my dad, but he was kind of just like, yeah, I need you to go to work. He didn't like give me good life advice. So podcasts and all that opened me up. And like I said, just getting promoted just gave me that little bit of confidence. Say, you know what? I think I'm going to go for it, because I also saw the world crumbling around me. And I said, I want to do something about it. And so my passion, like waking up every day and getting to do this and like actually show off what I've been working on the last 5 years, makes me happy, because I actually like accomplished my goals, and I'm always working on bigger things. So, and I just want to mention, like, the tax guys, like, my life's a write-off. I get to just teach this. So everything that I bring onto my new homestead, I'm going to be doing classes. So, Jack's a great example of like making everything a write-off. So that's what we can all do, because we love this life. We want to do these things. And so just knowing where you want to head, you can plan all these things in advance. So, yeah, the thing that I wanted out of business was freedom. My bosses, like people that I like, didn't like, we all have a coworker that you can't stand that just won't shut the fuck up. And you're just like, leave me alone. And so it made me think, like, who do I want to interact with on a day-to-day basis? Especially like in these times, you don't want to be around a bunch of like flaming liberal vax people you're just gonna argue with all day. So I want freedom of my time. I want to do what I want when I want. And I do that right now. Like, I don't have a calendar anymore, because there's nothing to put on it, because I'm just working in my backyard doing projects and shit. So I worked my ass off for 5 years. Don't get me wrong, work my ass off, but I have my freedom. So that's what I want for everyone here. So that's, and then money. So the other business I have, Bootstrapped Farmer, I don't do anything for it. I have other people run it, but I get a paycheck from it. And one day I'm going to sell it for a lot of money, and my life won't change, because I'm already doing exactly what I want to do. Relationships and expression. So to do what I'm doing in this environment where everyone's getting canceled and all this, like, I'm not down with that. I didn't do this to now hold my tongue. So saying what I want, like saying fuck Bill Gates on Instagram if I want to, like, I do that. Like, I don't do it on the main business, but I do it for Urban Farm Academy. So because that's me, and it's not affecting a bunch of other people that, we don't want to get thrown off Shopify and destroy a bunch of jobs that we've created. So I have two businesses, one that I can fully express myself, and the other one just, I guess, makes money at this point. So yeah, let's get paid through the building of paradise in our backyards. Like, we all saw it here with Jack, like, he's building a paradise in his backyard, but at the same time, look what he's created, and everyone gets to benefit, and, tax write-off. So decide what kind of business owner you want to be. Like I mentioned, I have two businesses. One, I'm an owner. I have really good people, like super talented people. And if you want a business to run itself, like, that's a requirement, like all-star people that you can trust. And thankfully, my brother's my business partner. He's like actually good at math and all that. So scaling a company, it's like, take it. Yeah, thanks for taking care of that. But the other businesses you'll see, like I was the operator, like I was doing all the work. Business does not run without me. But eventually, I had the big plan in mind. It's like now it's on you guys. Now you guys take care of this thing. So decide, like, do you want to start that and then become that, or do you just want to be an owner, or do you just want to be an operator? Does that make sense? Like the difference between those two? So I'm going to show you 6 different business models. And the excuses or reasons why you can't do something that will come up all the time. But I have no land. 4 out of 6 of these require no land. Very low startup. The next one, but farmers make no money and I have no experience. Like I was working in finance. Like I didn't do everything you see that, like you see me in little videos and stuff. Like I didn't do any of that before. So like we all have YouTube. You can use it, learn new skills. Like that's what we're all doing anyway. So just, I'm a regular guy. I'm not an alien, and we can all do this. Yeah, I don't think I can do this all myself. Yes, you can, but you don't have to, because if you surround yourself with good people, like it's going to work out. So when I was like scheming or whatever, but the day I left my job, I left with $80,000 in debt. And like, can you imagine leaving a job like that where you're going to be set and quitting to do something new and then failing? So like that fire under my ass was lit. And even further, as part of my scheming, because I had never run a business, I wanted to take time to build a business model. I moved in with my mom and dad for 1.5 years. So imagine living on your own, being your own man, and then being like, Mom and Dad, can I come live with you and save some money, you know? And that's what I did. So that's like another thing that's really important. I've had conversations with people and it's like, they don't really want to make the sacrifice to get the life that they want. So they have these like projections when everything is going to line up and it's all going to be perfect and they can just sailboat right in there and it's going to be all nice and they're going to build this thing, like, but it doesn't work like that. The universe has these laws where it's like, you've got to trust your gut and you've got to like focus and you have to become obsessed to a degree, and you have to know, the more you know what you want, the more you can visualize exactly what you want in your head, next steps become more clear. So that's just what I learned in this Farm Fusion framework, was like, how do I make an indestructible business? And how do I have a business where, like, if I do something, I can bail / pivot. Like I can pivot my way to success, because we all have, like, you know, the hippie circle when we talk about these fantasies and ideals, like that idea might not work. And so what do you do if it doesn't work? Or what happens if you hate it? Like, what, you thought you would like doing it, or you have a hobby that you like, but what if when you do it for a business, you're like, oh shit, like I just ruined my hobby. So how do you bail? How do you pivot from that? So Farm Fusion combines farming with other cultures and industries to create something unique that the masses want. So I'm not interested in growing commodities for any reason, because when you grow a commodity, like let's say you build a greenhouse and it's just a bunch of heads of lettuce, all of your customers are now competing on price. You know, like they're just going to go for the lowest price. But if you create something unique, like the Elder Fire Cider, like who's seen that? Like that's unique. That's like a novelty item. You're like, all right, yeah, I'll try that. Even if it's an impulse, like that works. And at the same time, meeting people where they want to be met with products they crave. Like we're all treating our bodies like shit the last couple of days. So she met us right here with something we wanted, that we needed. And so boom, like she's making sales. So right there, like we live in a modern economy. It's, things have changed. People are in their house. They got Netflix. They're not really going to the farmer's market every Saturday, you know? So it's like, what's the modern consumer look like? And if you want to reach them, maybe consider, you got to go to them, because they don't give a shit about you. You know what I mean? So that was like in my thinking. And, you know, as you saw with the little fancy video, my thing is like, I just want to make farming cool again, because I want to inspire like all those kids growing pot. Be like, yeah, no, like I can like do a business and I can take that experience and do this other thing. So one of my just like larger goals in life is, how do we get some of these like famous celebrities to just start pushing this instead of like the gold chains and all the stuff that doesn't matter, because like growing food, healthy food and DIY projects and hanging out in your backyard, like that's the life, like that's the ideal. I mean, I guess I'm biased, we're biased, but there's enough of them, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. So um, here's an example of what Farm Fusion can do applied to microgreens. Now, I have nothing against doing microgreens to start a business, but it's kind of like what everyone does to start a business in this field, because when it's that accessible, you're going to have competition. If you're new at it, well, you're probably going to have someone else at the farmer's market growing microgreens that has the established clientele of that niche, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? So that's why I just like microgreens wasn't my thing. And then look at here. You sell a 4-ounce package of microgreens. You get a $4 to $6 price, fresh for 2 to 8 days. Easy for competition. You do have the potential for subscription and delivery, but it's a very small market because, I mean, we all kind of like know the lie about microgreens. Like, yeah, just sprinkle it on your chili or sprinkle on a burger, but like that's kind of useless. And you do that once as a novelty, but who's really doing that week after week? Like a very small percentage of people are actually doing that. Now, a microgreen salad. And one of the concepts that we did, we had an indoor rack inside of our cafe. I won't get into the cafe. Don't run a cafe if you want a freedom lifestyle. But we were growing buckwheat, pea, 2 more, but they were nice and bulky and kind of cheap. And we grew it inside of the building, and we got 10 to 12 bucks. It's fresh for the same amount of time. No one's doing that. And subscription delivery potential is way better because, yeah, someone might buy 4 salads, 5 salads for every day of their lunch, because it's easy to do the same base, but different dressings, different nuts, different cheeses or whatever. And so you can roll up to one office, deliver 100 salads, and you're done. Like, do the math. You're done. So, and I'm going to keep mentioning subscription because when you don't have to remarket to get new customers all the time, like it's like set it and forget it. Just make them happy and you're good. So instead of like always having to be on Instagram, pushing ads, thinking of the new like thing to hook people, get them a subscription once, and maybe you need 1 new client a week. It's just a much better way to operate. So when you're thinking about the products you might want to make, like, is this subscription worthy? At least that was my thinking. And then going even further, a microgreen pesto, you can get more money for that. And this was like, I guess like the 8-ounce container. Because we could freeze it now, it's fresh for way longer because we'll just take it out of the freezer. No one's doing it. And it's just an excellent add-on. Any extra microgreens that we had, we can just turn it into pesto. So we're moving towards like a low waste, 0 waste with the additional products that we can make off of that. This is an example. Chris Davis was selling insurance, and he was, not very happy with it. Kind of like once you got a client, you're just kind of set, but getting new clients, like being kind of that fake, oh, nice to meet you, and you're just meeting people after people. He didn't like that life. But his son and him, they did a lemonade stand together because he was trying to teach his kid, a little bit about business and all that. And so his son got sick of it. Like, Dad, I want to play basketball. Like, I don't want to do this farmer's market thing anymore. And so he ditched it for a while. But we were working together, and we came up with this concept called Seed to Shaker, where, and we're going to look at a video real quick. You can grow some herbs, muddle some fruits or whatever, and you can make these we call them mocktails, that you can sell at the farmer's market. And just imagine you have this nice fancy drink that instead of paying $3 for, you can get 8 to 12, because half of it is an experience. Like when you go to a really nice bar and you're watching the bartender, he's like shaking shit up and he's like doing all the things, like that's the experience. And then they're walking around with this fancy drink, the farmer's market, and it's like free marketing. Everyone's like, where'd you get that? And so it was like the perfect thing, and it didn't really cost them much money. So he was growing on a 2x4 rack, 2 foot by 4 foot, inside of his second floor office. And I gave him this rack because like the guy who's ditching old projects, like that was an old project I needed out of my life. Take this rack and start your business with it. And then, so he's at the farmer's market. You'll run into like that connector in town, right? And she's like, oh my God, like I have open house, or I have a women's group and we meet. So like $600, $800 prepaid upfront, like 30 drinks, whatever it is. Like now he's getting business that he can do, like know that time, schedule that time. He doesn't have to quit his sales job right away. In fact, he can keep all of his old clients and just not work on getting new clients. So it's not like blowing up his life or anything in order to do this. And yeah, he bootstrapped this thing for less than $1,000. And his biggest expense was a juice press. So there's one of the drinks. And I'm just going to let this video play for a little bit because I think it's worth seeing the types of drinks that you can make, because we all like drinking and we all like combining things, and we can all do this. Like this is not super hard. And if you were interested in doing something like this, I'm sure you can hire this guy to do a little bit of consulting and give you all of the recipes that he's been working on. And you'll see this was his first farmer's market when you see him doing the thing. So what you saw in the picture before, he had the tuxedo on, and he started really digging like the professional look, like making sure that $12 drink, people walked away like, damn, that was an experience.
Apple lime squeeze. We're gonna muddle some ginger and some pineapple.
And he was sharing a booth at the same time, so he wasn't even paying a full booth because he just needed a little tiny table to do what he was doing. So there's not much else to see there. Cool. This is actually working out. How about that? Oh, maybe not. All right. Next one, edible gardens as a service point. So this is my friend Piper. She's actually in McKinney, Texas, so not too far from here. And she used to work for UPS. And she had just like, she was in the suburbs. She didn't have she couldn't farm. So she's like, well, what can I do to do this? And she started going to hotels and all these businesses and said, do you want like a herb garden out front? So and a couple of restaurants that she works with, the chefs will go out there and literally cut things, right, and take it into the kitchen. Hotels will pay a ton of money to pretend like they're doing something sustainable and amazing. You know what I mean? And it's like every month that check is coming in. Like that's not some flaky client. So if you just do your job, you're going to have that client for a very long time. And then not just that, but she was the operator for the first 2 years. But you can imagine you get those planting schedules down, you have the established relationships, you can hand that off to somebody else. And she had such a good network in the farming industry by just being out that, I mean, she's got her all-star team doing all the work for her now. Now that's her backyard, and she's just playing in her backyard, creating paradise in her backyard. That's what she's doing. So yeah, this is one of her gardens at the Virgin Hotel in Dallas. It's recurring revenue. It's paid for up front. So I want to mention that she didn't really need any money to start this business because she got the commitment and the money from the client first to build the garden beds. So how much money do you need to do that? Like, we could all go out and convince some business to start something and get paid up front. So I think we can all do that right now. This is another one. So a digital plus dirt STEM education. And you know, with everything going on, public school sucks. It's an indoctrination camp, and I was highly interested in this business because it's like, how do we subversively get that power back and actually teach these kids something useful? And this girl, 24 years old, grew up broke, no money whatsoever. She was diving in the dumpster, built her first aquaponics system, just had something working, convinced a school, say, let me build something at your school grounds, paid for it upfront. She was making between 3 and 5 grand per month per school to have a greenhouse there. And she'd go there twice a week, teach the kids outside in the greenhouse. And then the teacher, or sometimes her, would be in the classroom teaching curriculum. And this might seem not accessible because, like, oh, I have to build all this curriculum, and how do you do these things? Well, keep in mind, like, websites used to be really hard to build 15 years ago. Websites are super easy to build. And there's these things called learning management systems. If there's any teachers in here, you know Blackboard, you know Canvas or Canva. That's kind of what they use on the back end. These are all widely available. Plug and play. You type in the question. Here's the answer. Grades everything. It tracks your students. A 24-year-old with no college education can build that system. We can all do that. We can all do that too. So if you're trying to take the power back, you want to work with the public school or as a homeschool pod, like you can get your community, couple of kids, build a greenhouse somewhere, and it's a living laboratory. So I won't talk too much about that because I think you should see this video.
Shanks Middle School in Quincy, Florida, at one of our STEM through Aquaponics programs, which is where I get to go in and be a really awesome, fun STEM teacher and take the 5th graders and 8th graders and give them an opportunity to be scientists and engineers in a greenhouse with agriculture and get hands-on advanced informal STEM learning experience. Aquaponics is an urban farming method, a sustainable urban farming method, where you can raise fish and plants in an environment together in a symbiotic relationship. Throughout the process, our students get to learn about the nitrogen cycle, about the hydrologic cycle, about the beneficial nitrifying bacteria, about how the pH affects our crops, the acidity and the alkalinity. It makes a difference. All of a sudden, these kids are running water quality tests and recording data, and they feel like they're a scientist. They feel like they're an engineer, and they feel that they're doing something that's making a difference. When I discovered science, I was really lucky, and I want to give that opportunity to other students who don't have a lot of opportunities handed to them. And this is an opportunity for them to have an escape and to be something even greater than they ever thought they could be.
Maybe once I get older, I can actually start doing what Miss Madison does, come out, do all of this and everything else. Landing them and watch all the hard work pay off.
It's hard and it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. And I'm really lucky that I'm the one who gets to be here. I want people to understand that really anything is possible. It doesn't matter where you come from or who you are or what your parents do, that you can be anything that you want, that you can do anything that you can imagine. I'm here, and Farming the Future is here.
Cool. All right, next one. This was my first baby. It was called Veg2 Bowl. I've heard every single iteration of that name possible, but it's Veg2 Bowl. I thought it was my first like creative idea I ever had, and I was super pumped about it. But it went over most people's heads. But you know, you live and you learn. So I wanted to own the whole supply chain, like, because it's like I wanted a new business, like something that was actually going to change like what's possible. So I kind of came up with, if I had a food truck on my property and I have that certified as a commercial kitchen, the whole supply chain is now on my property. So I wasn't a good grower either. I would do soups, salads, stews, smoothies, and I can hide all of my imperfect produce in all of those things. So I didn't have to be a good grower. And so I like to say I turned a $2 head of lettuce into a $10 salad by just chopping it up and adding a few things. So think about the different kind of margins. And now we're talking about a subscription potential. So, you know, I'm not a cook like professional by any means. I was just the guy who would bring in my 5 meals on Monday and sit in the company fridge. And that's as far as my experience ever went. But I was in rural North Carolina, and I didn't need to be a 5 or whatever stars, shows how much I know, that would recognize a good chef. I got by, I built the business, and you know, week after week, I didn't need to take the food truck out anymore, because as soon as I had my little client base, that food truck stayed there, and I didn't have to leave my property. And I would just do meal prep in the sense that I would I would put a new menu out every Monday, like what's actually growing out there. So I'm going to start with what I have first, and then what do my local farmers have, and then you know the rest I'll go buy where I need to buy it. So the menu would change every week, and they go out Monday. By Thursday they place their order. Friday I go by and harvest everything. Saturday, Sunday I'm cooking, and Monday I deliver. So again, everything's paid for up front. I'm not wasting anything. I'm not harvesting anything that I don't have to harvest. I'm not buying anything that I don't need to buy. So, and it's also, I would take the food truck out, go to the farmer's market, one $8 meal. If they like it, be like, hey, we do meal prep. And I just made a $50 to $150 sale on top of that. So we were making all kinds of things. When you're doing this type of model, it's unlimited possibilities. So again, like I didn't know if I would like this future or not. I didn't know if I'd be any good at it. So I like making Indian food, Mexican food. So you'll see some of the things that we made. Those were salads in jars. This is just a regular homestead. Like there was nothing, you didn't really do anything different, just grew a variety of things. And whatever grew, if something didn't grow, it didn't really, we would just have a different menu. It didn't screw us in any way. You can see I used some of the same clips from mine. That was the kitchen we started renting. After we put up a little bit, that's the cafe that we have. Someone's got to be there all day. And then like shit always happens, and then you're also dealing with like the general public, so anybody can walk in. So again, like who do we want to work with and interact with? Kind of want to like be a little more specific about that. I yelled balls at her. There's only one more video after this. So again, I was the operator of the food truck, but then you saw this couple step in, and when we grew up, we changed to the Craven Local Food Market. So now I was just the owner, and they were the operator. So I stepped back, and these are two just creative geniuses, in my opinion. They had no experience either. They were just crafty homesteaders that like super hardcore, and they were perfect. So I kind of already went through the schedule. I said Monday, but I guess it was Tuesday. And you can see the amount of time that this took. So 1 hour to put together the menu, 1 hour to organize it, like this is what we need to buy, this is what we need to harvest, hour to harvest, purchasing 4 hours, cook all day, Monday deliver. So that's not 80 hours a week, that's not 100 hours, that's not too bad. And when we upgraded to the Craven Local Food Market, that's when we went on subscription. So that was kind of the thing that we learned. Like a lot of my clients would just forget to order. I'd have to send the email, you know, that goes. But once it was subscription, that shit was coming whether they forgot or not. They can go in and adjust what they wanted, but if they didn't do that, they're still getting it. So again, do the math. Like you don't have to be a genius to figure this out. $150, 12 clients, 20 clients, you're done. So you don't have to continuously be always marketing. And then we also did the glass jar exchange. So another thing, like zero waste. We can't be throwing plastic away all the time. Like every time you eat something, you're throwing plastic in the landfill. Like that is so insane. That's so insane. So like Milkman style, and it keeps it like now they're participating in something larger than themselves, and they know what that is. So this glass jar exchange just created this like this buy in this community, and people just around the community just really loved it and supported us, and it added to the zero waste model. And we even made people pay a $10 fee to buy into the glass jar exchange. So we paid for the jars, and if they stopped the subscription, like keep the jar, like I don't care. It didn't matter because the margins were so good, $1 jar here or there, whatever. And then we also did this at the farmers market. So if we were at the farmers market, people bring in like 5 jars back, they get $5 off. The last business model is taking like what everyone's making and collating it and delivering it. So build a website, like know their inventory, what can they provide? And, instead of just being a microgreens grower, be the person that's that hyper local delivery food hub. So Profound Foods, they're in Lucas, Texas. They serve the DFW area. Farms all over now go through them, and they deliver to restaurants, to chefs, but also to homes. So supporting all local farms. It's subscription based if they want, or just the weekly delivery, and it's automated. It's a lot easier for the farmers. They don't need to take a big cut because they're kind of working on volume at that point. But Jeff Bednar, good buddy of mine, I was actually wearing that same hoodie yesterday. He went from real estate to farming, and his whole family is involved. Like they have dinners like this. So that's their greenhouse. And they have these farm to table dinners. They bring in like the chefs that they sell to will come in and do special events. And they're doing all kinds. Like this guy is just one of those whacked out entrepreneur types that has ideas like flowing like all the time. So it's been really impressive what he's done. He got into this the same time I did, and he's got his freedom too. So first step, you've all seen like this stuff doesn't cost a lot of money. You don't have to divorce your wife. You don't have to like blow everything up. You don't even have to quit your job in a lot of cases. So where do you start? I have this term called backyarding. It's like, it's a verb. It's like the act of like building cool shit in your backyard and turning it into something, whether that's an education or a living laboratory for your kids, or just learn more about yourself or more about hobbies. I would say Jack is a backyarding. And to wrap this up, I have a cool video for backyarding. And what you'll see, this is my new homestead that I just moved into in June. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, who has questions? Jake,
I'm in Naples,
you need
Florida.
to
right
come
now.
all the way back here, as
Oh.
formerly a standard has been
I'm
established.
in Naples, Florida right now.
On this way.
Yeah, that's why I have the bananas.
So where are you headed next? What's your plans for the future?
Like I said, I have the business that I have a salary. The Urban Farm Academy. What I'm doing right now is just what I do. I mean, I just moved into a new place in June, so right now I'm just rebuilding the homestead, and I kind of just hang out in my backyard, and I'm just like, rebuilding a shed. I'm like, where am I going to get that next piece of wood from? And just kind of like, that's what I always wanted to do. I just wanted to be thrifty and just have like, that backyard where everything's made from something different and crazy. And I'm going to put new aquaponics in, more solar. I'm going to have decentralized solar throughout my house. Just all the cool shit you can possibly dream of. Like I got my freedom. I have it. And I get to do what I want.
Hey, first of all, I want to congratulate you for living the dream. That's awesome. You mentioned the 4-hour work week. I read that book, and that's kind of what I'm aspiring to. Right now, I run 3 businesses. My wife and I both work for ourselves, but we are working in the business. That's probably minimal, about like you are doing right now. But I would like to hear, kind of your transition. I know Bootstrap Farmer, you said you're only getting paid or you're getting paid, but you're not really doing anything there. And what was that transition like?
Yeah, first 5 years is I sold all the Bitcoin money I made to pay my rent. It just seems like the universe kind of works itself out where if you're dedicated, you're focused, things are just going to kind of create a path where you're just barely going to figure it out. And that's what happened. Now, the 4-hour work week, I didn't work 4 hours a week at all, during the beginning, because you gotta earn that. However, the framework of like, how can I do this more efficiently? Can I do this faster? If I go down this road, is that gonna like all of a sudden suck up my time? So it's just this like, keep yourself safe from a bunch of traps, kind of like thinking that book, again, like school does not teach you that. So the first thing I did, I listened to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was like, oh shit, like that's the game. Like that's the game you need to play. And that's what also made me realize like it's a business that gives you freedom. And if you can be intentional about how you set that up and how you run it, that's what can actually give you freedom. So hope that answers your question.
You can listen to that book for free on YouTube
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
What? I did like.
I'll also just mention, if we're on books, there's an author called Michael Michalowicz. And if you're in your business and you're like working all the time and you're stuck, or if it's like a financial mess, that's a guy who I read his books, and it totally streamlined my business and my thinking in so many ways. He's got like four books out there. One called Profit First, another called The Pumpkin Plan. The pumpkin's like, you pick the right vine that's going to lead to the biggest pumpkin, you cut the other ones off. It's kind of the same with your business. Like, what are the parts dragging you down? What are the products that aren't really selling? Just keep cutting and optimizing and optimizing. And Profit First was a way to like take your profit first, because it forces you to look at your numbers and dig down and like do the dirty work, which is like easy to brush off and ignore because it tells you truths that you might not want to hear. So if you can confront the things that might be sapping you down, that's how you're going to get there quicker.
One of the things that you showed there was the childhood homeschooling type integration of stuff. Have you looked at adult schooling?
Well, that's
where you do the school for the kids, that's fine, but you teach these people how to do that. These people's pockets are bigger than
Yes, if you saw, like, this was basically an ad for I call it the 5D human matrix, because it's looking at how do you become more resilient first. So it's a 6-week program. First week, it's called Free Your Mind. Like, how do you know like how to write down goals? How do you start visualizing what you're going to do tomorrow? So when you wake up, you know exactly what to do. Like, how do you clear all the baggage that's going to allow you to focus? So I start with that, because if you don't have like the right setup and can build the momentum, you're just going to become like lost and crazy and frustrated. So free your mind first, like get rid of those old projects, like, make up with your wife, like get that out of the way. And then you can kind of like be in a creative mode, because to be in that, like that last 10% of that creative mode, that's where all the juice is. Like that, like half paying attention creativity. That's like a B or C like report if you were doing it for school. But like when you're locked in, like, and then you're going for walks and like letting it digest, and then you're in the shower, like that's when the good stuff comes. But to me, you got to clear all that other baggage that might be distracting you first. And then, so what we do, like after that, we look at like your food, water, shelter. How can you be more resilient there? And how can you use that to start building up your homestead? And as you do that, start moving towards a business, start learning new hobbies. Like you want to try this stuff out. Like you don't want to go spend $50,000 on a system when you've never done it, never tried it, because odds are you're going to hate it. So like figure it out what you like first. Like you have the time to do all these things.
All right. Jazz hands for Brandon. We don't get to yell anymore. Thank you. Hey guys, we've got breakout sessions now till dinner, and Patrick's shaking a knife at me. Why?
If anybody wants a knife that hasn't got one, I'm going to go sharpen some knives. I need to know how many to do. So this is the last call.
Last call for sharp knives. Oh, look, David has a knife for you to sharpen.
Say thank you for doing Bootstrapped Farmer. I have spent a lot of time looking at hoop houses that will not blow away. And once I saw yours, I was like, that's it.
Yeah. I was in coastal Carolina with the hurricanes, so I was like, I need this strong, but like efficient and cheap.
Yeah. So I'm actually hoping to buy a kit next month.
Nice.
But once I saw that, I was like, that is it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that because that's why I started. Like I was you. Like I was that guy. So yeah, that was Bootstrap was an accident, pretty much.
Hey, those are the best successes.
Right.
I think I watched you in the early days of Bootstrap.
Really?
Yeah, that was good. So my question, I pretty much did the same thing. Like I was working full time. My wife and I built the business she has now, which is an herbal health and wellness business. And for the last 2 months, we have been trying. Like we haven't told anybody, but we've been trying to like hand over the business while we're growing. Because we took a 4,000-mile road trip over 2 months. We checked in. We didn't do any markets.
Best way to do
we
it.
didn't check in. We went home. We let everybody run the markets. We didn't really do anything. And then now and really everything's been going pretty smooth. So our goal is, because we don't really like Houston area, which is where we're at. The weather's terrible, So our goal is to probably have somebody managing the Houston area and then moving out, probably doing that again somewhere else, and maybe just finding out where we really want to be. So how was it like handing over, like given the reins? Like,
So I went on a 3-week trip to China, and that's how I got Bootstrap automated. I was like, hey, I'm leaving. Like, and I was like, my brother, like, figure it out, man. I'm fucking leaving. So it's like you just like taking the trip forces you to put in the system because you'd be fucked otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's a good situation to put yourself into.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And that's what we said. We said, call if there's any emergencies. Yep. If there's anything that we need to handle, then we should be available.
It forces them to figure it out in real time instead of like just having you there. So it's a great training. Yeah, and like don't like do your biggest event when you're leaving. Like small stakes. And, I know someone in Houston that might be good for it if you like.
Good. Yeah, I'll give you my card. Finding quality people.
Yeah, he was actually in the video. Him and his boyfriend broke up, and so that's a cluster fuck at the moment. Starting over.
Yeah, I'm giving all my cards away. I got some more in the truck, so I'll go grab them.
You know where I live, Youst City. So my market, 45 minutes from McKinney or whatever. So so is that where I live?
Profound Foods. If you just go to profoundfoods.com, they probably have like a vendor information thing, at least like the information like minimums or how it works, and you'll see if it's right for you. But they've got like all the relationships, all the networks, all the people, they're all going on that site. So
then you just take it to them, and they figure everything else out. They find the vendors that you wants to buy it, the
I
restaurant.
mean, having relationships helps because then they know like order from you.
Right, right, right.
But I mean, as a way to get started, you can use that as just an option to see what happens. Like, that side in life, and there's no like huge like buy-in fee or anything like that.
Right,
down the way. So,
right.
yeah, that might be it. At least we're trying.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. Because I just, you know, I work full time, and I love my job.
Yeah.
But I want to retire. 6 years, so it'd be nice to have some things in place to take care of it. So then I can.
And if you know that up front, like investigate that, and like now you know how you can maybe like.
Well, this was fantastic. I just really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Sweet. I thought you were in Arkansas. You're in Texas.
No, I'm in Texas. There are a lot of people here.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get.
Yeah.
It is. It's like crazy. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Man, when we first met, you were like, I was in your situation. You really were. Yeah,
Just become obsessed for a while.
Yeah,
man,
right.
and figure it out. I'm
Yeah.
not a genius. I'm not
No, you're smart, dude.
okay, but like I also became obsessed with this.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Yeah, you got passion for it.
Right. And if you're passionate,
That'll forward.
oh yeah, man. Okay. If it's if it's something you're passionate about, it becomes easy because it's like you want to get to do the things you don't have to do.
Right. Seems like you're doing what you want. With Hawkeye's question, he was like, have you looked at adult stuff? Because like that one
Like
children.
my 5 week, that is kind of
Yeah.
the way I do it.
So it's like an online thing, like
So it's 6 weeks.
Orientation.
You get a green pill every day. One video every day. That's like, do this today, focus on this. Like, who are you surrounding yourself with? And you like evaluate everyone you're surrounding. Who's fucking sapping your time? Who's sending you a bunch of bullshit texts? Don't leave your life.
so it's kind of more motivational than it is organizational. Because
Well, no, that's week one. But like after that, you start building like business concepts, like framework after framework after framework. Because I can't tell you what you should do or like, what your interests are. You have these like frameworks that will prevent you from like fucking out or tripping up. Like just think about something smarter before you do it. That kind of builds that on that. It's like week one is free your mind. Week 2 is looking at your food, water, shelter, and energy. Like, are you collecting water? Okay, well, like, if you collect water, you're doing a DIY project. You start to learn some plumbing. You're starting to do the whole thing, and now you're collecting water. Now
that
you're
is
able
for
to do it.
adults because they got property.
And it's just built business principles after that.
How did you get your first like greenhouse set up and set up and grow?
YouTube and stuff like that. You're on this stuff, yeah. Now, put it on the greenhouse plastic, I mean, like an extra hand or two for that. But, yeah, I'm just busting my ass, man. It's just,
I get and you still pay fun for it.
yeah, a little bit. I mean, I paid my rent.
Potato buckets.
Oh yeah.
Bootstrap farmer.
Oh,
A bunch of my email. I was just doing business with you in 2019.
yeah, man. Yeah.
Doing some backyard and that's my parents had.
Oh, I honestly never used it.
You know what? I can't get the water to flow in right. Check out that tomato born with.
Oh yeah.
So those are like the parasitic wasps on them. So like those, they eat, that thing eats eggs. That's inside. Wasps coming out. Right?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I do this.
Cool, man.
It's kind of funny. Like really funny. I'm like,
No, really. Oh, Amazon.
when you said it, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I looked at my email.
Honestly, it's not. I'm but happy. Yeah. It'll grow without. It's better to grow without me. I can't handle business with that kind of shit. You're right.
I definitely been backyarding for a long time. So I like to see what helps. I ran a little bit.
Yeah, I like all the marketing.
Backyarding was one. Basic adult. You know, isn't that you asked me what I did. You know, I did
Gonna grab our hands and make it like
that worked.
Right, yeah. I didn't even see you move. I was gonna kneel on the floor. For what? 478. No. Where am I?
Did anybody put a list in there of like what they're gonna class? Oh, there you go. Hog panel ham radio.
Go Brandon.
Solar PV. Sean Mills. Corey's doing. Cool.
I just
Watch me some keto.
pulled up the drone, took some video. I was just gonna.